Travel to Leeds City Centre from the south, and there is a good chance you will approach it on the M621 motorway. Leeds set out its aims to be the motorway city of the 70s, and these roads carry a good proportion of the traffic coming in and out of Leeds. However, in front of the men laying the tarmac came the bulldozers, and large communities were lost as the motorways replaced the houses, schools, churches and factories that stood here before. This video tells the story of one of them, the community that existed alongside Meadow Road. Meadow Road is still here today, acting as the eastern edge of Holbeck and the western edge of Hunslet. It is south of Leeds City Centre and beyond the northern edge of Beeston. This aerial image shows the M621 motorway across the bottom half of the screen. The large intersection at the bottom right hand corner used to be the northern end of the M1 until an extension to the A1 was added and this section was redesignated. Meadow Road is highlighted, connecting an exit of the M621 coming in from the west with traffic coming in from the south. Today it is a wide one-way road heading towards the city centre. Alongside Meadow Road there is a collection of offices and small industrial units, but in the past it was quite different. This map from 1906 shows the community of houses, shops and other facilities that were here before. Meadow Road has always connected to roads heading north towards the city centre at its northern end, but at its southern limit it used to join with Elland Road and Beeston Road. Alongside the highlighted road you can make out the rows of terraced houses that once stood here. This photograph, taken in 1937, gives you an idea of the shops and services that lined the road. It presents a view of the northern end of Meadow Road, where it joins Meadow Lane and Victoria Road. On the left is the junction with Tabernacle Street, then a confectioner, a fish and chip shop, a barber's shop, and at number 2 a general store. On the right of the photo there is a hanging sign for the White House Public House, which once stood at the pointed junction with Dewsbury Road. Today, the Clayton Hotel takes up the majority of this space, and the brick-built shops are long gone. The road is much wider now, carrying traffic into the city. At the southern end of Meadow Road there were also shops. In this photo from 1964 you can see a fruiterer and a general outfitters and pawnbroker. Houghton Place is to the right, which was a long row of terraced housing, and coming in from the right is Beeston Road, which ran off up Beeston Hill. Take note of the small wall to the left of the shops. This is where Meadow Road crosses the railway. The railway lines are still there, and Meadow Road still crosses over them here, but now the shops and houses are gone. The road is also 1 or 2 metres higher now than in the past, so that it can join with the M621 as it runs through the area, raised on an embankment. Beeston Road is now cut off from its junction with Meadow Road by the M621 motorway, which follows the old route of Elland Road in the direction of Leeds United's stadium. On the other side of the railway bridge stood Bethel Chapel, one of a couple of places of worship serving the local community. This photograph was taken in 1938, and Chetwynd Street can be seen to the left of the chapel. On the other corner of Chetwynd Street there is a butcher's shop with poultry hanging in the window. Once again you have to bear in mind that the road is a little higher here now, but no sign of the chapel or Chetwynd Street remains. Bethel Chapel was a place of worship of considerable proportions. serving the large local community. To the side of it, on this photo, also from 1938, you can see examples of back-to-back terraced housing which ran across towards Dewsbury Road. The other side of these houses faced towards the railway lines. In fact, there were terraced houses along each side of the railway lines here in the past. Just slightly further along Meadow Road and on the opposite side was the Queen's Theatre. It had a huge auditorium capable of seating 3,500 people and also contained refreshment rooms, 16 drawing rooms and 2 shops. This image from 1911 shows members of Leeds Wesleyan Mission as they leave the Queen's Theatre after attending a Bible class. It is likely that Bible classes were held at the theatre whilst the Wesley Mission in Meadow Lane was undergoing refurbishment. Today, the location is the home of several small industrial units. It is amazing that such an impressive theatre once stood here. The theatre stood at the junction of Meadow Road and Jack Lane and opened on the 24th of December 1898 with a production of the pantomime Dick Whittington. Whilst it was relatively close to the city centre and did attract patrons from there, it was very much a suburban theatre, serving the Holbeck, Hunslet and Beeston communities. It was home to many different productions over the years, including pantomime, variety and plays. It is said that Gracie Fields made her first appearance in Leeds here in the 1940s during the war. Unfortunately, its success as a theatre was interrupted by the advent of motion pictures, and it closed as a theatre and reopened as a cinema in 1924, although cine variety events were occasionally put on. The building closed as a cinema in 1957 and was demolished in 1968 as part of the transformation of the area. This was once a corner bustling with people, but now it is known as a road intersection at best. The 1901 census for Meadow Road describes a thoroughfare lined with shops and services, supporting a thriving community. Public houses, pork butchers, drugstores and drapers, for example. At 79 is the Royal Oak Inn, run by publican John Brownfoot. John and his wife Mary have 7 children living with them, as well as 2 servants. 4 of John's sons have trades outside of the hospitality trade, including wheelwright, bricklayer and plumber. Just around the corner at Hammer Street, the occupations of the residents take a more industrial twist, reflecting the factories and foundries close by in the area at this time. There are steam raisers, screw turners and hammer drivers, although at number 6, boarding with Charlotte Warburton, is Richard Thomas, who describes himself as an actor and comedian. It is quite possible he was appearing at the Queen's Theatre at the time he was lodging here, although that is just speculation. Further along Hammer Street, Mary Best is a forewoman in a jam factory, whilst at number 5, widow Hannah Wooster has her son-in-law living with her, who is also widowed and works as a gas stoker. There were large gasworks nearby. 2 of Hannah's grandchildren are also living with her, an example of how families stuck together and worked together in adversity. Some of the occupations reflect the successful tailoring industry in Leeds at that time. There are buttonhole machinists, trousers finishers, as well as linen weavers and shirt machinists. Joseph Rawsley has the interesting job title of brick dryer. He is likely to have been involved in the producing of millions of bricks needed in Leeds to build the extensive back-to-back housing sweeping across the city. Living at 21 is 46-year-old widow Frances Gill and her family. Next door is 43-year-old Eliza Adelson, also a widow, living with her daughter and sister. In the final house on Hammer Street in the 1901 census is the family of John Bolter, yet another widower. There are 8 people living in the house at this time, 3 generations ranging from John, who is 52 years of age, down to a grandson who is 7 months old. John's daughter has 4 children aged 5 or under living in the property. It will have been a very lively household, to say the least. The community around Meadow Road was large and developed. There were many shops, services and other facilities supporting the residents. There were 2 schools close by, a recreation ground, and in the middle of the housing was the St. Barnabas Mission Room. Mission rooms were often built as a branch of a larger church to provide Sunday worship and social activities. The dramatic growth of crowded urban areas in Leeds and other industrial cities raised concerns that the bulk of people weren't attending services. In 1869, 8 urgent mission districts were drawn up by the Church of England in Leeds, and 2 of them, including St. Barnabas, were in Holbeck. The ambition was to develop a fresh centre of religious work in each of the districts, and the building on the corner of Jack Lane and Gowan Street was considerable and impressive. In addition to its use as a church, part of the building may also be used as a school or venue for clubs. Between Meadow Road, Dewsbury Road and the railway lines, there were over 20 streets of back-to-back houses. Further streets to the south of the railway lines blended into others heading up Beeston Hill. To the west of Meadow Road, more and more streets spread further into Holbeck. Communities blended into one another. There were numerous public houses within walking distance, serving the locals and workers in nearby factories. They included this one, the Parkfield Hotel, seen in a photo from around 1900. It was an impressive brick-built building. A clock made by Potts of Leeds is on the outside of the pub. To the left, Dewsbury Road heads south, and there is the rear of a tram. One of the signs on the wall points the way to the Queen's Theatre along Jack Lane, to the right of the picture. The southbound carriageway of Dewsbury Road continues to run this way, but the Jack Lane junction has gone, replaced by the motorway network and the embankments and green spaces arranged around it. The construction of the motorways brought improvements in transport links to the city of Leeds, but it came at the expense of communities which were already well established. Shand Grove, shown here in 1959, was a typical terrace, with a toilet block shared by each of the houses at the end, and a local shop, in this case a fish and chip shop, at the other. Whilst these homes would undoubtedly need alterations to meet modern standards, and might even have needed to be replaced by newer houses, what in fact replaced them was a collection of industrial units, an extensive road network, and in some cases, open wasteland. This created anger for some residents of Holbeck and Hunslet, as they witnessed the tearing down of their communities. There was always the argument that jobs were needed, but often they were taken by people from outside the area, which caused further frustration. Thankfully, in recent years, there has been a drive to conserve some of the older parts of Holbeck and Hunslet, and introduce alongside them new homes to help revive and regenerate the area. Clearly there is space for further development along Meadow Road, and it will be interesting to see what changes take place in the future. The motorways will no doubt continue to bring influence on new developments. Sadly, it is unlikely we will ever see a thriving community on the scale that once existed here. But hopefully, this video has shed light on a little known area of the city and has started to tell the story of one of the communities that existed here once before. This is one of a series of Leeds local history videos. Look out for other titles in the series on the Geography Juice channel. Thank you for watching.